as you see it. These are the towns: Worcester, Southbridge, Auburn, Oxford, Millbury, Charlton, Spencer, Leicester, Sturbridge, Rutland, Warren, Paxton, North Brookfield, West Brookfield, Brimfield, Brookfield, Holland, East Brookfield, Oakham, and New Braintree. That's the latest on that, Danielle. I know you have more.
Yeah. All right, Harvey, I want to show you what's going on, too, because we want to talk about this storm, because not only does it have that tornado warning, it has a lot of things going on with it, not only the rotation, but a lot of lightning. So no matter what, you want to be going down to the lowest level of where you live. Now, I want to show you and show you just how much lightning we're anticipating from the storm and what we're seeing. Remember, this is the cloud to ground lightning, and you can see over 239 lightning bolts in the last 30 minutes. So again, we are concerned with this storm, not only just because of lightning, just because it's tornado warned, but I also want to show you what's going on in terms of the hail, because we do have some pretty large hail within this storm. I want to show you, get closer to it and zoom you in and show you exactly what you can expect if you're living in there, because it's probably a noisy storm. You're seeing a lot of lightning. You're seeing at least quarter-size hail or greater within this thunderstorm as well around Southbridge. But this isn't just the only thunderstorm I'm concerned with. Obviously, this is the one that's tornado warned. But we also have a couple of hail cores up here towards Leominster, Princeton, Holden area, just to the north of you. So you might be getting some as well. It looks like about quarter-size hail up in that storm as we look at that one. And then also up towards the north more, we're going to go up towards Athol. You can see, again, we have some pretty large hail out there. In fact, hail size is up to about quarter size. So I want to zoom you out again and show you all these areas, because obviously we have that tornado warning on the one cell, but we have a lot going on right now. And what we have is actually that tornado warning still for Hampton County as well as Worcester counties. And again, this is going until 5:15. Here is what we're concerned with. I also want to see if we can go here and show you the rotation. I want to look at this real quick for you. And as we look at the rotation here, all right, well, not really seeing much. Oh, here we go. Hang on, let me zoom you in. If I were to look at this, I'm going to look for where the reds and the greens are matching up. So I'm looking in and zooming in over here. It looks like potentially right around Route 148, just to the south and east of Brookfield, we could see some of that, as well as even West Brookfield. I'm seeing some reds and greens kind of connecting as well. So that would be the areas of my greatest concern. I actually want to just circle these areas right around here if I can, because right here and right here is what I'm looking at. This is what we do to kind of show you where, if there was a tornado going on, where we would be and how we get it. It's Doppler indicated. So again, going back to those warnings if I can, yeah, I want to show you what's going on. I'll zoom you out first because we're a little too close on this. I want to show you, obviously we have a lot of lightning, but we have, again, I want to get you a track too on this and show you where it's going, what towns you can expect it to be on your doorstep as we head towards, oh, actually if we can go to weather 3, there it is. It's up for you already. You put a tracker on there, Harv. Okay, so this one is headed up towards, all right, the storm of concern in 2 minutes will be around Spencer. It'll be around Leicester in about 10 minutes. And then as you look towards Dawson in about 23 minutes. So again, if you live in these areas, you really, really want to be going to the lowest level, center of the building, in the basement if you have it. Another thing I always tell people if you live in these areas, obviously staying away from windows. Closets are a great place to go. You know, you want to grab something like a blanket or a helmet to put over your head to kind of protect you as you're going through this, because we want to, again, talk about that. Now, Harv, are you ready to go over there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Danielle. Yeah, the storm tracker that we're showing you right now, this is the most important tool we have when we're into a situation like this, because you can tell the towns and the number of minutes until the core of this storm. Remember, right in here, this is the cell as it's moving northeastward very rapidly. You can see it's closing right in on Leicester as I speak. 9 minutes until the core of the storm gets there. Right in here, this is what we're most concerned with. There's hail with this. There's tremendous lightning, but there's also damaging winds. And it has been intensifying. It's moving northeast, and by Doppler signature, we have seen rotation with this particular storm. So this is where the tornado warning has been issued. And as we take a closer look, I want you to notice that this tornado warning is until 5:15. It's bordered by Worcester and North Brookfield, as you can see, but the important thing to know, if you're in that area, this is the safety rule, the most important one with a tornado. You want to go to the lowest level of your home, near the center of the home. You don't want to be near the top part. You don't want to be near the roof. You don't want to be near the exterior. That's the safest thing to do in a tornado warning, the safest place that you could be. It's part of several severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect. You see them all in here. And so the one that's under a tornado warning also has the severe thunderstorm warning. But we also have severe thunderstorm warnings across north central Mass and now moving in more toward northern Mass. As you can see, this includes Leicester and Pepperell till 5 o'clock. And any one of these cells, obviously this is the one that could be tornadic, can produce damage. We talked about it. Damaging winds, hail, and the risk of these small tornadoes. Any tornado is obviously an incredibly dangerous potential situation. This area is showing us where we have a severe thunderstorm watch, which actually does extend as far east as Boston until 8 o'clock tonight. It means the potential is there in the atmosphere for these to form. Here's a wider view of the radar. Notice the action is along and outside of 495, but this is the strongest cell, the one that's prompting the warning right in here, and it is really flying. I mean, these cells are moving at about 50 miles per hour. So the conditions don't last very long, but as we saw in Revere, what could happen in just 1 to 2 minutes? That's why these very severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, in my opinion, are the most dangerous storms of all. They come upon you so quick, then they're gone, but they can leave an awful lot of damage in the very short time that they've been around. Other strong cells are moving into the Berkshires again, also on up into southwest New Hampshire. That's very strong, and into northern Massachusetts. Everything is moving to the northeast or east-northeast, as I mentioned, at about 50 miles per hour. A lot of lightning with the cells, including the tornado warned cells, as well as the severe thunderstorm warned cells. And we've got the hail as well. Here you can see the core of the hail. That's with the storm that has the tornado warning in effect. And also the other severe thunderstorm warnings have hail as well. That's near the Mass-New Hampshire border. And this particular cell, as it closes in on Leominster, also has a lot of hail. Now, even though the one near Worcester is the one that has the severe tornado warning, any one of these other ones that have severe thunderstorm warnings with just a little further development could be upgraded to a tornado warning. And remember, even a severe thunderstorm warning, some of those can be like microbursts and they can cause damage. So until this threat passes, we need to stay right on top of it as we're in this warm and still humid air. As we go out in time, we're going to see the cells move rapidly to the northeast, and as we get to and after sunset, we'll see a dramatic weakening of the action. But we have to stay on top of this. Danielle, do you have a little bit more?
Yeah, you know, why don't we just do a quick review of what is happening right now and go across all the areas that are under the warnings right now. If you're just joining us, I want to talk about that tornado warning first, which is for Hampton as well as Worcester counties, and that goes until 5:15. And I want to go a little bit wider so I can show you this first. You see there are a lot of cells out there, but we'll zoom you into this one. Obviously, the box is just to the west of Worcester, but this area that's really affected, I'm pretty much looking at let's see the towns here. Going towards Spencer, Brookfield, also Mystic Grove. If you're in any of these areas, you definitely want to be taking your tornado precautions, because even though this is Doppler indicated, we haven't seen confirmation of any storm spotters going out and seeing any funnel clouds or anything, but you still want to take those tornado precautions. So you want to be going down to your basement, to the lowest level, you know, protecting your head, obviously, from the potential flying debris. Also, though, this storm, on a wider view, is under that severe thunderstorm warning until 5 o'clock. So again, we're under these warnings for at least the next 30 minutes to even 45 minutes for that tornado warning. The other cell over here is for Middlesex County and Worcester counties. You can see some of the towns in here is Leominster, Harvard, up towards Groton. And again, this is until 5 o'clock. Obviously, the bulk of this storm just to the west of Leominster, moving through Fitchburg now. So if you live in that area, you might be noticing it. All these storms, because we have such soupy air out there, they have tons of lightning, very, very heavy rain, but it'll be for a very short time because they're quick moving, as Harvey mentioned. And also, I want to show you this also on the left-hand side, just so you know, this is actually a Worcester camera right now. If you're looking at that, I want to show you that. And then also out to the north and the west, we also have for Cheshire County and Franklin counties until 5 o'clock, that severe thunderstorm warning. So again, one of the big things, besides obviously the rotation in that one cell, is the lightning with these storms. Again, look at the numerous lightning. And again, I want to show you how much you can expect in some of these areas, because they're pretty impressive. In that one cell, you're seeing about 237 lightning strikes within 30 minutes. Again, around Leominster, it's getting really noisy too, moving towards towards up 2A. You can see around Route 12 too. Fitchburg getting in on this. Pepperell, you would be up next for this cell too. And then the one that actually is tornado warned is going to be moving to Spencer next. And then Worcester looks like you might be on the fringe of this cell. Also Southbridge, you are just to the east of this cell. And then finally up towards Amherst, we're seeing a lot of lightning with that cell as well. So again, these are really beginning to fire up. We're seeing with the soupy air mass, the tons of lightning. And again, we're also seeing hail within these thunderstorms. Harvey mentioned that. Look at these hail tracks on this in the past hour. The hail has been up to quarter-size hail reported, but I'm sure there could be larger size at this point because you see the deeper blues in there. So again, hail core, lots of lightning, possible rotation with this as well. And for more on the storm, we want to go over to Harvey. Harvey, what's going on? Okay, we've updated the tracker on this to show you the towns that are in the path of this potential tornado. At minimum, it's a very severe thunderstorm. According to Doppler radar with rotation, it has the ability to produce a tornado that could work its way down to the ground. Till we get ground truth, we won't know that for sure. But we know we're dealing with a storm that is potentially damaging winds, all that lightning and hail, and it's flying along at a rapid speed. So, just about 2 minutes from now, and you see the times update because this is all in real time with the tracker, it will be around Leicester, the core of it. About 25 minutes from Shrewsbury, about 33 minutes from Boylston, 34 from Northborough, about 37 minutes from Clinton. This is the cell. So there's the tornado warning. This is the area. We zoom in on it, and you'll be able to see another way some of the communities that will be affected until 5:15 today. The safety rule, the most important one, I don't think we can ever emphasize this enough when you're in an area that's under a tornado warning. You want to be at the lowest level of your home near the center of your house. Best thing you can do indoors. In addition to that, we have within our viewing area 3 severe thunderstorm warnings. It is always possible any one of these could get upgraded to a tornado warning. It's possible. Not saying it's definite by any means, but severe thunderstorm warning in itself, they do damage. So this is until 5 o'clock. The one that's headed for southwest New Hampshire, the one in north central Mass also is in effect until 5 o'clock. And then we have the one that also is part of the tornado warning until 5 o'clock. But right now, the idea is any one of these cells has the potential of damaging winds, hail, we've already seen the hail, and also the possibility of spawning the small tornado, which may be happening. So here you can see the action. Still along the north and west of 495, some of the strong cells that have all the warnings with it. There's also strong action going through the Berkshires again, or just moving into the Berkshires at this particular time. The lightning, very, very prominent, as Danielle's been showing you with the cells that we have the warnings with, and hail as well. This is the tornado warn cell that has the hail, and this is one of the severe thunderstorm warnings, and the other one. So there's all different aspects of this storm as we're still in the warm and humid air until we get to the nighttime hours tonight after sunset. Then we'll see this action quickly wane at that particular point in time. Danielle?
All right, Harvey. Well, we just got confirmation that the Revere tornado was ranked an EF2 on the scale. I highlight that in yellow for you. That's 111 to 135 miles per hour. Now, again, it happened this morning. The estimated time for this was actually 9:32 to 9:36. Again, this is just coming in, so I'm reading off the paper, but we had an estimated max wind speed of 120 miles per hour. The maximum path width was 3/8 of a mile, and the path length was 2 miles. So again, there was 0 fatalities, though, 0 injuries, reported from the storm. So again, this is a Chelsea, Revere, and Suffolk County, Massachusetts. Again, it was an EF2 tornado confirmed. So again, we're talking about this, but we also have something more to talk about, which is actually the tornado warnings that I want to get to now, if we can do that as well. So let me show you what is going on currently on our map. Obviously, this is a broad range view, a lot of lightning with these storms, first of all, but I want to take that off so you can actually see the cells, and I'll show you a little tighter view of them. But basically, we have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings and that tornado warning also right now for parts of Worcester County. I want to show you exactly where they are. We'll zoom you into these and get right to it. Okay, so here is the warning down here near North Brookfield, Spencer area, right in here. This is until 5:15, and I'm trying to watch these latest loops of the radar because obviously we're looking for a potential hook in this or even a potential rotation. Obviously, this is a Doppler indicated, so we haven't actually seen it by a spotter or anything, so it isn't confirmed yet. But I also want to look at our storm motion and see if I can find any red to green levels, because that's what we see when we look at radar
radar velocities is what we call it. But when we try to look for the green and red and where they're kind of linking up, and I'm trying to look at this, and unfortunately, it doesn't look as good to be able to zoom in and tell you exactly where this would be. But again, we do have those severe thunderstorm warnings for all the counties you do see in the yellow color. We also have that red color, which is that tornado warning. And Harvey, do you want to put a track on one of these?
Yeah, absolutely. Got the tracker going on this, Danielle, updating it so we can switch over here and show that to you. And right now you see the storm, and it still is very potent on radar. I don't see any real significant sign that the cell is weakening yet at this point. So it's about 21 minutes, the core of it, from being around Shrewsbury, just under 30 minutes from Boylston, as well as Northborough, a little bit longer than that by a couple of minutes for Clinton. And this is what we're talking about with this cell. It's flying northeastward. I mean, these cells are not going to wait for anybody. They're just going to continue to fly in a very strong jet stream, but it's part of that strong wind as we go up in the atmosphere and the wind changes direction. That change in direction and speed is wind shear, and that's what gives the spin and can lead to some of these severe thunderstorms sometimes turning into a tornado. So seeing some of that rotation on Doppler radar, some at least, and that's what's prompted the warning. Until 5:15, that's the warning for the warned area. Safety rule again, lowest level of your house, away from the exterior of your house, away from doors, away from windows, away from the roof. In addition to the tornado warning, 3 severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect. The one in southwest New Hampshire, as well as the one that's moving toward, as you can see, Leominster and Pepperell involved in that until 5 o'clock, and as well as the severe thunderstorm warning is the tornado warning for the area here that does include Worcester, as you can see. The general watch is until 8 o'clock tonight, meaning the potential exists until that time in our area. Some of these cells, damaging winds, hail, and of course that possibility of a tornado. This is the wider view of the radar. So far, eastern Massachusetts, Boston, southeastern Mass, and the Cape in the clear. The action continues to be across central Massachusetts, western Massachusetts, a little bit into Connecticut and parts of Vermont, especially New Hampshire. Central, northern, western New England, but obviously through Worcester County and even into northern Middlesex County, maybe even into Middlesex County east of Worcester. We'll have to see how the cell holds up as time goes on, as it moves to the northeast very rapidly. That's the overview of what's happening. We'll continue to stay on top of the cell, particularly the tornado warned cell. Danielle?
Oh, sure, Harv. I want to, you know what, I want to go back over here because I do want to talk about, in case you're just joining our programming, first of all, that tornado in Revere earlier today was confirmed as an EF2 tornado. I want to show you the graphic I have made. I just made this one up for you. It started at 9:32 this morning on the ground. It was on the ground for 4 minutes, only 4 minutes. And the actual length of it was 2 miles. The path length itself was of a width of 3/8 of a mile. But again, it had winds of 120 miles per hour, so very strong winds. That's almost Category 3 hurricane force winds. So we are talking about a very strong tornado that came on through. And in terms of the EF scale, this is how we rank our tornadoes. Obviously, you can see it's more in the medium level, but still at 9:32 in the morning, we had a pretty impressive tornado that moved through parts of Revere. And because of that, I just want to also point out that this was the first tornado that hit since 1950 in Suffolk County.
Danielle, I want to bring you back to what's happening right now live, and because we do have a tornado warning right now to expire not until 5:15. This is a live look at Worcester, Cam. From your broad base of knowledge, what do you see about that lowering there, sort of middle to the right of the screen? Is that worrisome?
I am looking at that. Yeah, it looks like the tornado warning actually just got lifted too, because I haven't seen it. It is lifted, okay. But I am looking at these clouds just because, you know, even though we don't have the tornado warning anymore, you want to see that there is, you know, the potential. And what we're looking at these clouds, it's a little bit of a, I would say, a scud cloud. Here, Harv, go ahead, go in there. I want Harv to get in here. I just wanted
to show you that the tornado warning has been canceled, and the reason it's been canceled is because the cell has weakened, so it is below levels that could produce a tornado. It's still a potent storm. The storm tracker still applies. A dangerous thunderstorm, strong winds, hail, lots of lightning, heavy rain. These are the towns lined up for it. As you can see, Shrewsbury, Boylston, Northborough, Clinton. However, no longer a tornado warning in our area at this particular time. But we continue to monitor several strong cells, and we still have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings to be talking about. It's not impossible that any one of these three could still yet yield a tornado warning. So the danger is certainly not over. Severe thunderstorms themselves can cause danger. This one is in effect, as well as this one, as you can see, till 5 o'clock. And now what was the tornado warned area is still a severe thunderstorm warning until 5 o'clock. General area until 8 o'clock tonight for the watch, meaning the potential exists. Damaging winds going to be contained with a few of these storms, as well as hail, and of course the possibility of a small tornado. Don't know yet whether anything touched down in that warned area or whether it was just seen as rotation on Doppler radar that did not work its way to the ground. Eastern and southeastern Massachusetts, not much action at this time. Most of it's along and to the north and west of 495. Clusters of cells, a lot of lightning with the cells, hail with the cells as well. This was the tornado warned one. That was the diameter of some of the hail at one point. But these other thunderstorm warned cells also contain hail, as you can see. So we continue to follow all of these storms, and we'll continue to do that. Heather and Phil?
So the good news is, Harvey, that tornado warning, the biggest threat to the area right now, has now been lifted. But let's take a moment. I just asked Danielle to pull up Lightning Tracker. There is still a lot of dangerous activity with these storms that are out there.
Absolutely. You know, anytime you're talking about a severe thunderstorm warning, even when it's not even classified as severe, lightning isn't even one of the criteria, but obviously lightning is very critical. But when there's a severe thunderstorm warning, it means the winds potentially are 58 miles per hour or greater. That's enough to do damage. Also, the hail could be an inch in diameter or greater. And sometimes when it really gets big, that can even cause some damage. So that's what we're talking about with the cells. Of course, we've got the heavy rain as well. That can cause some brief localized flooding. We saw an extreme case of that in the first cells that came by this morning across Metro West, Boston, and the North Shore. But we still have those severe thunderstorm warnings, and you see those cells. Here we've got the radar on, as well as the lightning, and you can see the areas bracketed in yellow are the areas under the severe thunderstorm warnings with those strong cells, lightning, heavy rain, hail, moving into those regions, and strong winds as well.
All right, Harvey, thanks. We have a live picture up in Revere right now, several of them. But what you see, what we're going to show you right now is the podium where we will have a news conference in a short few minutes. We do know that Governor Deval Patrick just arrived in Revere along with other officials who will be telling us exactly what the deal is on the ground there. We see the podium and the folks getting ready.
And we will bring it to you live just as soon as it gets underway. We're going to take a brief break. You have been watching continuing live coverage of the tornado that struck earlier today in Revere, Mass, now confirmed as an EF2 tornado. We'll be right back.
This is the Subaru Dealers of New England A Lot to Love clearance event. Love the road you're on in a brand new Subaru Legacy, the longest lasting midsize sedan in its class. The Legacy was awarded Top Safety Pick Plus by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Buy a brand new Subaru Legacy, well equipped, for only $20,295. Plus, get 0.9% financing for up to 48 months at the A Lot to Love clearance event.
Done. Mayor Dan Rizzo, D-A-N-R-I-Z-Z-O.
All right, folks, you are listening to this news conference that's just gotten underway in Revere, where there was a confirmed tornado today. Let's take a listen in as they are introducing who's going to be speaking. We are expecting to hear from Governor Patrick momentarily, but let's listen in.
Members of the Revere City Council. We have about 65 buildings that were substantially damaged. 13 of those are uninhabitable, and those include some businesses along the Broadway stretch. There was about a 3 square mile area that got hit. It started out as an EF2 tornado and went down. By the time it hit just beyond Central Ave, it went to an EF1, we believe, and that's what we got from the National Weather Service this morning. We have a number of assets here from the state that have been helping, from MEMA to the DCR to Department of Transportation, state police, other local communities, as the mayor will go into. And I introduce to you Mayor Dan Rizzo.
Thank you, Chief. So as the Chief alluded to, obviously this wasn't what we had anticipated this morning, to be talking about an EF2, EF1 tornado hitting our city. But nonetheless, we've had to deal with it now since about 9:30 this morning. I have to say, first off, at the outset, I'm grateful for the support that we've received from the governor's office, from our federal partners, our federal delegation, our neighboring cities and towns that have been just so generous with their assets and support to help the city get through this. There was significant damage that we endured. all up and down the central corridor of our city and to both the east and west. The primary focus has been and continues to be the safety and well-being of our residents. We have National Grid crews, I think about 37 of them out there, that are providing support and making sure that any down power lines are being dealt with. We're asking the public to make sure they contact, call 911 and contact emergency personnel to let them know if they have down power lines. That obviously can create a very, very dangerous situation. We are dealing with down trees. As you may be able to see around us, we've got some real sizable trees that have come down. A lot of them made roads impassable. And so, needless to say, not just for general travel, but for public safety personnel, it creates a significant problem. So we're trying to make sure that all of our roads, both our primary and secondary roads, are free and clear from trees and debris that may prohibit the safe passage of vehicular traffic and, most importantly, our emergency apparatus. As the chief said, so many different agencies have come out to support the city. I saw Tom Glynn from Massport over there, who has sent resources, DOT, DCR. You know, it's a work in progress, but I'm very, very confident that with the help of everybody involved and the cooperation that we're experiencing from you know, all these various agencies and partners, that we're going to get through this just fine. We have set up a temporary shelter at the Rumney Marsh School for people that may need those services. As the chief had mentioned, I think there's about 13 homes now that have been considered uninhabitable. So we're trying to work with those residents as well as other residents that have experienced significant damage. I think all told there's 64 or 67 residents that have experienced what we'll call significant damage, and of those, 13 are uninhabitable. So we're trying to make sure that we can provide the necessary accommodations to help those families who need it. So with that, I'm willing to answer any questions. I know the governor is here. He's expressed his willingness to answer questions, and I'll turn it over to you guys. Well, right now, the way they can help, quite honestly, is to try to let these crews do their jobs, and by checking on their neighbors, particularly if they have elderly neighbors or neighbors who may have disabilities, and maybe, you know, as much as we're trying to get the information out, and we are using a lot of social media and reverse 911 calls and things like that, but we know it's not getting to every single resident of the city. So we're kind of asking residents to check on one another and stay out of the way of these emergency crews that are out here trying to do their work. Because the more they stay off the roads and let them do their jobs, the quicker we'll be able to get back to normal.
Mayor, how many homes are without power?
Last I heard, there were about 2,800 homes without power. The lion's share of those, I'm told, will have power by midnight. But there may be some exceptions. So again, what I've been trying to do with our residents across the city is just ask for their patience and to let them know that we're doing all that we possibly can to get every single person here in the city back to normal. But it's not, unfortunately, as much as I'd like to have it happen in the next 30 or 35 minutes, it's just not realistic. But we're doing the very best that we can. We're documenting, obviously, all of the damage that we've received. We have a lot of private residences that have, you know, incurred damage, as I talked about. We have a lot of public buildings. As you can see, City Hall right behind me sustained major damage. I had to evacuate City Hall earlier this morning. We haven't made a decision yet on when we'll have our employees return back to work, but I know that when we do, I want that building safe, not only for our employees, but for people, the general public, who come in and out of there every day. So, I'm sorry. But yeah, we're still, it's still too early. We're still assessing those numbers right now, so it's hard to say. But I think that, you know, as we continue to document and go neighborhood by neighborhood, street by street, we'll have a better feel for what those numbers would be. Well, I mean, the one thing I've learned, I mean, as much as I think weather forecasters try to get it right 100% of the time, I don't think that always works out that way. So clearly, I wish that we had more notice. I mean, the bottom line is, with an EF2 and then ultimately an EF1 tornado, to have no casualties other than just a few people with minor injuries, that to me is amazing. So we're very, I mean, obviously as mayor of the city, I'm so grateful for that. And you know, the whole warning thing, it would have been great to get, but at the end of the day, if there's no casualties, this would have happened with or without the warning, apparently. So, you know, it would have been nice to know, but, you know, so to get people out of harm's way. But as it worked out, thankfully, we didn't have to worry about that retrospectively.
You have a pretty good idea of the path of the tornado? Like
we believe it started right at the Revere-Chelsea line and then headed north up 107. And it took up, I think, about 3 square miles.
Any damage to Suffolk Downs?
I have not heard. I've been in contact with a couple representatives from Suffolk Downs who have just expressed their support and offered to help. So it didn't seem to me as though they sustained any damage. No.
Mayor, there are more storms coming tonight. How does that affect the event?
Well, I mean, I can't say, you know, it may hamper in some of the effort, but you know, right now they're just going to continue doing all the work that they need to do to get the city back on track. You know, I would, along those same lines, like to just let our residents know if they feel as though that they're in any type of danger or have experienced any kind of damage that, you know, an additional rainstorm might make worse, that they contact us, okay? Because, you know, the safety and well-being of our residents, all of us here, is our #1 priority. So any people out there that are going to, you know, feel as though that, you know, they may need some assistance if we do get more rain or more bad weather, you know, we encourage them to call. That's the number we have right now. That's as close to the final number we have, but there could be more. As I say, we have inspectors that are still out going through the various neighborhoods.
What is your impression of what areas of the city you think will hit the hardest as a result?
Well, certainly our central business district and the neighborhoods both to the east and west, they really got hit very, very hard. I mean, you know, when you see trees, you know, 3 feet across in diameter just ripped up, it's pretty, you know, it's not something we're used to here in the city of Revere seeing. You know, where, you know, as long as I can remember, we've never had to go through and experience a tornado. So, you know, to see a lot of these big, huge trees that have been downed and power lines and roofs ripped off homes and things like that, it's a pretty significant day here in the city.
Mayor, on a personal level, what was it like for you being inside City Hall when all of this was happening?
So I was on the other part of the city with one of our police officers when this was happening, and we were getting very, very bad rain. In fact, we were talking with one another saying we couldn't believe how bad the rain was, and then I received a call from my assistant who was petrified. She said windows and doors were blowing out of City Hall. And at that time, I thought maybe a microburst might have hit, until we kind of spun around and came back and saw all the downed trees and everything. So it was a little bit surreal, but thankfully we had no injuries in City Hall. And when you look at some of the damage that's been done to the building, it's really quite amazing that nobody did get hurt. So we're working on that right now with MEMA and the governor's office. I have to say, you know, the governor and his staff have been tremendous in helping the city of Revere respond to this emergency that we've had to deal with. Our federal partners, Congresswoman Clark, Senator Markey, Senator Warren, they have been tremendous. They've all reached out and expressed their support and offering to help in any way they could. So I feel very, very lucky to have such tremendous partners help us get through this very difficult situation.
Is there anything you're asking from the general public to help?
Yeah, as I said, Kelly, the only thing that I think we can really
stay away from the area, no sightseers.
Yeah. As the chief just whispered in my ear, the best thing the public can do is to look out for their neighbors and stay out of the way of emergency crews.
A lot of Revere are watching on Channel 5 that might want to help victims.
So that, yeah, we have not.
We haven't had those requests.
We haven't received those requests as of yet, but certainly as they do, I'll make them as available as I possibly can.
Hey, Dan, would you let the fire marshal give those couple of tidbits in response to that question?
Okay, so I'm going to bring up our state fire marshal right now, who can give you a little more information on some of the questions you've touched on.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, even though we're in good weather, we're not in the dead of the winter, we always have to remind people who have gone through a storm like this to be very cognizant of the safety of their neighbors and themselves. Our major concern after a storm like this is two things: carbon monoxide and the fact that people who are without power may look to use generators, may look to use charcoal grills for cooking. It's extremely important we message that we don't put generators inside the home. They need to be far away from the home. They need fresh air to ventilate, and the same goes for grills. Never put a grill inside. I also think it's important, even though we're several hours into this incident, to remember that all wires that are down should be considered live. Don't go near them. Don't try to move them. Let the utilities come and take care of them as they get through the restoration of the storm. Thank you.
Governor, can you talk about any state aid?
Governor,
can you talk about if there's any state aid coming to Revere?
Well, we're here now in the form of MEMA, the state fire marshal. The state police have been out and helping relieve the local police here in Revere. Once all the damage is assessed and we have an understanding of what that is and what the options are, we'll go from there. MEMA has had, I'm sorry to say, some experience with this, both in terms of gathering assessments and making the case and understanding what the different avenues may be at the federal level. Well, you know, I was saying to the mayor and to some of the members of the council, it was not very long ago that we took a walk down Broadway to look at some of the state investments that have been made and will be made to lift this neighborhood and encourage more business development, and to see the damage right down this very corridor from this tornado is just amazing. And frankly, it's been said, but I'll say it, it's a blessing no one was hurt.
Mayor, you said
thank you, Governor.
13 uninhabited homes. Are those homes condemned or are they repairable?
Right now, as best I know, they're just uninhabitable. I'm not sure that I don't believe they're going to be total losses, but there's got to be a certain level of safety in order for those buildings to be occupied, and our inspectors have deemed them to be unsafe at this time. So, you know, for now, we're just going to say they've sustained enough damage to be considered unsafe for occupancy at this point.
Have you had anyone found all the homes that were damaged?
Well, we've been out there, as you can imagine, since early this morning, you know, investigating the damage, inspecting the damage, and so, you know, I wouldn't anticipate that number is going to change all that much, given the level of support that we've had out there and the manpower we have out in the street. So I think that's a pretty fair and safe number to use, but that could change a little bit. So. No, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, people going around picking up metal off the street is, you know, on my list of priorities right now, it's not really up there, but certainly we're going to have additional police officers on the street tonight to make sure, because where we have this damage to homes and 13 of those homes that are uninhabitable, we want to make sure that we have enough police resources out there to make sure that none of that type of activity takes place here.
The
majority of homes are down off the Revere Beach Parkway, Taft Street, and Vinyl. The businesses were right on Broadway that had their flat roofs ripped off. There were 3 businesses of that, but for the most part, the majority of the damage was done just after the Chelsea line up to like Beach Street, which is a block away from where we are now.
How many residents have actually been displaced?
Well, there's obviously the residents for those 13, 12 or 13. Most of the people, we've told them the shelters are available, but right now we haven't got any requests for a specific shelter. They said that they're going to go to family or friends. We may get a few more in the next day or 2. There is one section where there is a power outage where the poles that feed the houses go between 2 streets, so it's going to be very difficult for Verizon to get in there to replace those poles that have fallen down. So those people might be without power. There were about 80 electrical services compromised from the Revere Beach Parkway up to Central Ave as of an hour ago, and the inspectors are working their way down. So those individuals that have problems to their actual electrical service from the house to the pole will have to get their own electrician to make the assessment to what they need to do to get power back on. National Grid will make sure that the power is at the pole, ready for them to take it to their home, but they'll have to do that.
Do you know, Chief, if there's still live wires on the streets out there, or
I won't say definitively. We're pretty sure we've gotten all the live wires. National Grid has taken care of that. We have a number of phone and cable lines still down and all, but National Grid has really been on top of it.
Treat all wires as live.
And that is, we've said right from the beginning that the public, any wire that's down, they should treat it as a live wire and report it to 911. We'll come out and make an assessment.
Chief, there were guys working up on top of the school at the time it was happening. Were they up there at the time?
They were, and they held on for dear life. The crane that they got up there with that toppled over, I believe. A number of the panels they were just installing to the new school, this is the Hill School down on Park Ave. Those panels all blew off, insulation panels. But it's a structural steel skeleton that's there, so it didn't sustain any damage.
Are those town employees or contractors? Contractors or town employees?
The school's all contracted work. It's building a new school. So.
You talk about the damage to City Hall itself. Is that Dormer, or is it Dormer here? Is that going to come off?
You have been listening to the mayor of Revere. The governor has also been speaking. You've been getting the latest information on what has happened with this now, as we know, is an EF2 tornado that has torn through Revere. Massive damage, roofs ripped off buildings, cars submerged, live wires down. The city is trying to put itself back together, trying to restore power. Our coverage on News Center 5 at 5 continues right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ed Harding with J.C. Monahan, also here in Revere tonight. J.C.?
That's right, Ed. I just want to show you what's going on here on Revere Beach Parkway. This is the area of town that we've been talking so much about as this EF2 tornado came through in just a 2-mile path. Look at the depth of this hole here. This is where one of these old trees used to be, completely uprooted. And the crews have been here all morning starting to cut up those trees to make this road passable. This corrugated metal that you see here, this used to be the top of their brand new skate rink. This is twisted metal. Look just across the way. That's where the rink is. This blew in a twisted mess right here onto the ground. We are talking about screws coming out of this and nails, and the way that it's bent. You know, this is what the investigators from the National Weather Service are looking for, the damage and the rotation. That's how they know this was a tornado. I mean, this is completely collapsed onto itself and bent into shape. Some, I was told, of the roof has landed 2 neighborhoods away in backyards, and that's how far the distance was. And you can understand now why they're estimating the winds are between 100 and 120 miles per hour with this storm. All the neighbors are out. They're all hanging out. If they can be on their porches, they are. If they can't, they're standing in the streets. You can see them gathering in front yards, trying to help each other. We've had folks going to the store coming back with Pepsis and waters, offering to help charge each other's phones. Whatever they can do, because at this point, as you see those bright orange and yellow signs that are on these different houses, those are notices that say that the homes are too dangerous for them to return. All of their belongings, imagine you left for work this morning and all of your belongings are inside and then you can't reach them, you can't get back in, and that's what they're dealing with right now. We want to go to Harvey Leonard. Harv, I want to hear more about this because, as you mentioned so many times, this is the first time in Suffolk County there has been a tornado since 1950.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, surrounding counties have had, like, 15 in the last 50 and so on. But Suffolk County, being right on top of the water, in many cases, not every case, obviously, the water and any wind off the water can be a stabilizing effect and sometimes prevent a severe thunderstorm from becoming a tornado. But there was a lot going on. Atmosphere, a lot of shear, we call, with a big change of wind direction and speed with height, and that is always increasing the potential of something that could become tornadic. Now, I want to bring you up to date on the current weather because round 2 is affecting parts of the area. At this moment, we do not have storms that are strong enough to be qualified as severe thunderstorms, so we don't have severe thunderstorm warnings. But we do have a decent thunderstorm that's gone through Worcester, and now we've put the tracker on that as it heads very close to Boylston, then Clinton, Bolton, Harvard, and Boxborough. This still can contain heavy rain, lightning, and of course, maybe even some small hail with that as well. Now, there's also a cluster of storms just to the east and northeast of Orange that is still fairly potent. That's the one that still has a lot of lightning with it, the one that did prompt a tornado warning earlier that's no longer in effect for parts of Worcester County. That's the cell that's now moving where we put the tracker on for you. Now, some of these cells, as they move into southern New Hampshire, do contain some small hail. There's a pretty good cell very close to Nashua right now that's producing some hail as well, and still a little hail left over in the northwest Worcester Hills from those storms that have been developing and moving. We've kind of put the hail into motion here from southwest to northeast. But you'll see a very bright color show briefly here. That's when that storm was at its peak. But now the colors are a little more dull, indicating the hail size is lowering, so the storm is not strengthening. All of these damage reports, a lot of flooding, and of course the tornado in Revere from what happened this morning. But these two over here, this is from the severe thunderstorm that happened within the last hour, and we do have a couple of reports. For example, in Brookfield, large branch wires down on a car. That's in front of Brookfield Fire Station. That was reported at 4:40. And also in Sturbridge, a 3-inch diameter branch is down on Allen Road, 4-inch diameter branch down. That was reported at 4:38 when the storms were more potent. We still are under a severe thunderstorm watch until 8 tonight, meaning the conditions in the atmosphere still do show the possibility of some additional storms. But right now, this is the very strongest storm we're following, as well as the one near Nashua, New Hampshire, and we'll follow a few others as they move into western Connecticut. However, as we take a closer look and we look at Futurecast, the idea is once we get towards sunset and beyond, we're going to see a rapid weakening of the action. As you could see, we may get a weaker storm, perhaps get as far south as Boston by 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. Then it all weakens and moves offshore. JC?
Harv, thanks. And, you know, as you mentioned, more rain is possible. I know severe weather possible as well. I just want to mention a lot of these folks, a couple of these homes at least, don't have roofs. And that's another concern they have, is about protecting their belongings that are inside. Revere Beach Parkway being the major damage, and that's where our Jim Loke is, just a little farther down the street. Jim?
JC, we're near the American Legion Highway, and this is one of the areas that was really hard hit. And you're seeing a lot of the debris in the backyards here out here. We have the fences in this direction. Over here, as you take a look at this tree, just snapped right in half at a right angle. And you imagine the people who left for work this morning returning to clean up a lot of debris.
It was like pitch black, quiet, and then it just sounded like 6 freight trains came through here.
Near Rose Street, it's not the 93-year-old tree that fell that's the story. It's what's underneath it, a car topped by live wires. With no significant injuries in Revere, fire crews were keeping onlookers away from the down lines as National Grid crews showed up on scene to start the process of turning the lights back on.
There's 2 telephone poles in our backyard right now.
But for a lot of people, the fallen debris was keeping them at home. With the cleanup just underway, many people in this neighborhood were either stuck surveying the damage or waiting for help to arrive.
A lot of the siding, the pool from our next door neighbor went in our yard. It's full of water.
Yeah.
It was so quiet, and then all of a sudden it sounded like a freight train came through. It was the craziest thing.
I think we have a trampoline now in the backyard. It's not ours. It wasn't there yesterday. Fences are ripped down. It's a pretty scary situation to go through, I'll tell you.
You know how astonishing it is to see all of these tree branches that made their way off the trees and across the street? I thought this was a tree. No, this is just a branch off a larger one. By the way, talking about the utilities, just saw another National Grid truck about a block away. They are working furiously out here to get the lights back on. The only request they have is that you at home be patient. Live in Revere, Jim Loke, WCVB News Center 5.
All right, Jimmy, thank you very much. We're in the Melanson's backyard. Now, the Melansons on a normal summer afternoon might be in that pool, but look what's in the pool now. There's a chair, half their lawn furniture. In fact, all those white slabs you see in there are all part of their fence. Look at the